difficult. So it's a problem that doesn't have a clear solution.
We're chatting with the Wall Street Journal's Matthew Dalton. Matthew, has anyone floated the idea of at least temporarily banning all Syrians from entering the U.S.?
You hear people talking about that, and I think my sense is that this is more of a problem for Europe maybe than it is for the U.S. because Europe doesn't have the luxury of doing in-depth background checks of the people it takes from Syria. These are people who are just kind of flowing across the border into Greece, Bulgaria, and they by the thousands, and the authorities don't have the time or the wherewithal to do extensive background checks on these people, or really any background checks. They're just largely relying on the document, the passport in front of them, and a rudimentary kind of fingerprint check, that kind of thing. The U.S., because it's so far away, and because it takes the refugees it selects them from refugee camps in the region, has more of an opportunity to do an in-depth background check about these people. So I think the U.S. is a little bit better placed to protect itself from the fact that they're not just relying on the passport the way, to a large degree, Europe is.
You also say that European governments right now grant asylum to almost all Syrians, and that is problematic for the U.S.
I don't know if it's problematic for the U.S., but it has created this dynamic where lots of people, where a Syrian passport, real or authentic, is very useful because it means you can get into Europe and stay there. And you're given asylum, whether or not, and if your passport is authentic looking enough, even if you're not Syrian, you can stay. And now the motives for people to do this are largely benign in the sense that they're not, for example, I quote in my story the example of Moroccans who go to Turkey, buy fake Syrian passports, and then come into Europe because they want to come to Europe, and it's difficult for a Moroccan just to go and stay there. So there are lots of people who just want to go to Europe because they want to be in Europe. They're not terrorists. But the fact that Islamic State appears to have this capability now is worrying.
Thanks, Matthew. The Wall Street Journal's Matthew Dalton. It is now 21 minutes in front of the hour on This Morning, America's First News. And in the podcast today, we'll take a look at how Democrats could be crippling Obamacare. You can hear that report on our website, thismorningwithgordondeal.com, or on places like SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, and TuneIn. Just search for